Hi, I'm Rebecca. Welcome back to our channel. This is the place where we talk about the outdoors. Today I'm going to share with you 3 things to look for when you hire a guide for your next adventure. A few months ago, I got an email from a guiding company asking me all sorts of information about routes for a trip that they were guiding on my mountain here in the Snowy Range, and their trip was coming up in just a few weeks. So I really thought nothing of it. I responded to the email with some route suggestions and some campsite suggestions, and I just figured that this was just friendly banter between guides and between guiding companies. But then things got a little weird. I discovered that this guiding company wasn't located in my region. They didn't have experience guiding in my area, and I learned that the guides had never even been on the trails that they were about to take paying clients on. And I was essentially, through this email that I was so naive about, I was essentially helping them do their route planning, and I didn't even realize it because in my mind I was just trying to help out another woman-owned guiding company. A few days after our email exchange, the guides actually came to Laramie and they stopped right here in my shop, and they were asking my employees for more trail information after they had spent a half day scouting this backpacking route, which seems a little weird, but that's okay. But anyway, they took the women out on the trip, and then after the trip, they made contact with me, and they called me up, and they kept asking me more and more questions about other trails in the area that they could use to put together trips for next summer. And I was so torn because I didn't want to be rude. I want to help other women-owned guiding companies and businesses. I'm passionate about just helping women get outside on the trails no matter who they hire to be their guide. But something about the way this company was operating was just making me feel kind of icky and gross, and I felt a little bit used. So finally I said to them, what do your permits say about the areas that you're allowed to guide on? Now, my permits are very specific. They mention where I can park, what trails I can use, all sorts of information. I have to provide evac plans, risk management plans, all of these things to the Forest Service. Like getting the permits was a very lengthy process, and I had to put a lot of thought into my trip plans. And when I asked them what their permit said, they just kind of dodged the question, which shot up a huge red flag. And then I asked them, I'm your direct competitor. Like, I guide women's trips on that mountain, and I know I'm not the only person who guides women's trips on that mountain, but it's my mountain, and I'm your competitor, so I can't plan your trip for you. Like, even if you wanted to hire me as a consultant to plan your trip for you, I wouldn't do it because your company is operating under some processes and systems that are really concerning to me. I have spent the last couple of weeks really thinking about my interactions with this company, and I know right now that there is a huge need for all women's guided trips. I love taking women on trips into the backcountry and leading and guiding and teaching. That is just something that I'm so passionate about, something that I love doing. But I also want you to know a few things to look for before you join a guided trip and before you hire a guide. So here's 3 things to look out for. One, is the company local to the area where you're headed? And if they aren't local, if they're headquartered somewhere else, do they hire local guides? Now, I'm not talking local guides who live 200 miles away. I'm talking local guides who live in that gateway community. Now, if this company doesn't hire local guides, and if they're not local, that is something you should really be concerned about because a local knows the local area. Now, for instance, I haven't spent a ton of time hiking and camping and backpacking in southern Utah, so I wouldn't really feel comfortable guiding in southern Utah, even though it's really not that far away from me. But I am very comfortable here in the Rocky Mountain region because I know the wildlife, I know the weather, and I know the risks. The second thing to ask the guiding company about is what is their medical, safety, risk management, evacuation procedures, plans, and policies. To me, it's extremely important that when you're paying a guide to take you down a trail, that guide has actually physically walked the terrain you're going to be on. They know where you're going. That's so, so important. And the third thing to look at is what is the company's refund policy? So For example, right now we have huge wildfires going on my mountain just to the west of us here. And I got an email from my permit manager at the Forest Service who said, "Hey, Rebecca, no guided trips right now in the Snowy Range because of the wildfire. We'll let you know when you can be up and running again." And I was like, cool, I really appreciate that. But there are lots of guiding companies out there that put really fine print about cancellation, not returning funds, blah, 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 for canceled trips. So if the guide has to cancel a trip because of a COVID outbreak or uptick in COVID cases or wildfires or illness or injury, are you going to get your money back? Are you going to get all of your money back? And how quickly are you going to get your money back? Now, talking with that guiding company that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that was actually a really good reminder to me. And since that interaction, I have gone back and I have actually revised our risk management policies and procedures. I have put into place even more strict protocol for hiring guides and for training guides, and also for making sure that my guides are always familiar with where we're going. I don't want to discourage you from hiring a guide or joining a guided backpacking trip next summer. I think that the best and safest way to experience a backcountry adventure is actually with a guide or a local who knows the trails and the risks and can take care of you out there in the backcountry. So there you have it. A few things to look for when you hire a guide. I'm not going to disclose the guiding company. I'm sure you can find them with a simple Google search. And they might be an amazing company, but they just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So I hope that you will maybe consider joining me for a backcountry trip next summer, depending on the COVID situation, the wildfire situation, and everything. But stay tuned. We'll be announcing the trips for our guided trips next summer around January. So that's all I have. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next Wednesday.